3, 2.
I got everybody pregnant with Barry Katz and semen.
I'm not comfortable with the tone this is taking. If you're undeniable, you will not be denied.
If you want to be successful in show business, you get yourself a Jew white manager like Barry Katz.
Being a manager is just turning no's into yeses. Creating holy shit moments. Undeniable.
You're fucking firing me up, Katz.
I love this man.
Is there anything else I should know?
You're on. What? Now I'm on the air.
Barry Katz.
Back in the house.
Let's do this.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what an honor. I'm really excited to talk to this guy. We've got a tremendous amount to talk about, and I know you're going to be very inspired. Please welcome Kyle Kazanjian Amory.
Thanks for having me.
I'm just glad I pronounced your name
You
properly.
nailed it.
Fantastic. I have so much to ask you around your brand Don't Tell Comedy, because it's just like it's fucking amazing. It's amazing what's happened. Are you blown away by what's happened with this brand and what you're doing all over the world? Or did you write this on a napkin when you first started and said, this is what's going to happen?
That's all been, just making mistakes and learning from them and trying to build something cool. But no, I never thought it would be where it is right now.
Tell me your biggest mistake you've made so far.
I think
Biggest fuck up.
the biggest fuck up is not finding people that you trust to work with, especially like at the beginning. And you learn from those mistakes and you move on and you find good people. But that's been the biggest game changer for us, is I've found really good people to work with over the years.
Something I don't think people know, how many Don't Tell Comedy tapings could be possible at the same exact time?
Yeah, this weekend we have 120 shows going on across the world.
All being filmed.
Now, the filmings are only, we do those once every 2 months, and just in one location, one city. So we'll film 24 shows a year. But if we were to film all of them, which would be insanely expensive, we have over 5,000 shows going on a year.
And so you have 120 shows all over the world this weekend. So why don't you tell our audience, how did you scale from one show a week in one location to 120 shows? So in other words, I mean, look, most of the people listening don't even have a to-do list for the week that has a fraction of 120 things. So how do you pull off the logistics for that? But more importantly, how did you figure out how to scale something like this that's really there? I don't know of any other comedy production that's been scaled to do 120 branded shows in one weekend. If you know of one, please tell me.
Yeah, it's crazy. It just started with doing one, and the first show was in my coworker's friend's backyard. And I was just hitting up all my friends to see, can we do a show in your living room, your backyard, wherever.
Were you on the show as a comedian?
I was on. I started as a comic, and 2 years into comedy is when I started Don't Tell Comedy. And I was on the first show, and I always wanted to be the worst person on the lineup. That was crucial, just to make sure that the shows were shows that people saw, had a great time, and wanted to come back. And it was all word of mouth initially. So scaling initially was going from one show a month to one show a week just in LA. And that felt like a tough thing to do.
Were the artists that you were putting on in the beginning that extraordinary?
Yeah, first show we had Sam J, who it was before she was a writer on SNL.
I just did a show with her at the Faena in Miami. For those of you who haven't been watching Sam, she's been working on this bit that's incredible. I presume it's going to keep growing and growing and growing. Who's going to win the race war? That's the premise.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a
piece.
great premise.
So where was this first show?
It was in Silver Lake here in LA.
Got
and
it.
It was a backyard, 30 people.
How'd you get her?
I met her doing shows, and I volunteered downtown at this show called Uncabaret.
Of course.
That's like kind of how I got my start. Was I set up the chairs and checked people in. I met Beth Lapidus just going to one of her shows, and she was a mentor of mine. And that's how I kind of learned the ropes of producing. That's how I met a lot of comics initially. So I had some good contacts when I started producing my own shows.
Incredible. And for those of you who don't know, Beth Lapidus has been doing Uncabaret for probably 35 years.
Yeah.
It's an incredible show. But what's fascinating, now that you mention it, and we're going to go zigzag a little bit here, but don't lose your place.
Yeah.
So here you're working with Beth Lapidus, somebody who has a fucking brand that's like as strong as oak, never scaled it, yet you, the guy folding the chairs and putting stuff up, take a brand that doesn't have a name, isn't as strong as oak, and you scale it to 120 shows in a weekend, yet Uncabaret is still in one place after 35 years. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I love shows like Uncabaret and like other kind of independent shows that feel underground. And part of what I wanted to do with Don't Tell was make those cool underground experiences more accessible to people. Because you're right, like people, I didn't see a lot of companies or individual producers doing shows across different cities and building a brand. But what inspired me was I saw a company called So Far Sounds that does live concerts that are pop-up style in similar places to what we do. They were in 400 cities. And so I saw that and I was like, this would totally work for comedy, because I'd seen comedy shows in weird places already. Friends' backyards, even the room on Cabaret that used to be at this vegan restaurant in the back room, which is a really cool room. So I felt like if it could be done for music, it could be done for comedy. And I think I was fortunate to start it in LA, where there's a lot of great talent that we could have on early and build the reputation of the show locally just through word of mouth.
So you go from one a month to then one a week. There's always this point in anybody's life or career where shit happens. You know, it's like you go home, you sit in the fetal position, and you're like, holy shit, it's happening. What was the moment for you when you realized, I'm never going back to this stand-up life. I'm never going back to this other stuff I do. This is what I'm doing. This is my thing. What happened? Was there one thing that happened?
You know, it's interesting because it felt like we were building a lot of momentum heading into 2019. And in 2019, we did like 800 shows. And I felt like I was getting closer to this feeling like it could be a full-time job. But like in the middle of 2019, or even 3 years in, I took a part-time gig doing an old woman's personal finances in the Hollywood Hills for 10 hours a week. Like it was still I was not making much money doing this. And then our whole business got shut down in the pandemic because our whole business was live events. So went from like putting everything I had into this and working with people to build this up, gets shut down. So it really wasn't until 2022 that I felt like stability, that okay, I'm going to be able to do this for a while.
I think the audience will be as inquisitive as I am. How do you do 800 shows and not make money? Will you explain that to me?
Yeah. I mean, every show.
What kind of business model do you have?
It's funny you mentioned that because we were doing a show. I was up in San Francisco. It was the first show we did up there outside of LA, first show. And I was talking to somebody before the show who was just an attendee. And they were like, what's your business model? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, there's no business model. Like, this was a thing that I started because I thought it would be a really great way to get myself out of working in accounting. And I thought there was potential, but I didn't have a plan.
You're a fucking accountant. You don't have a plan?
I know, it's surprising.
Accounting is what it's all about.
Yeah.
So just bear with me for a second. So I presume there's many different ways to do it if you're doing so many shows. One is you've trademarked the name, and if somebody wants to do a Don't Tell comedy show, they have to write you a check for X amount of dollars, and they can have the logo, they can have the signage, they can have everything, and they put on their show, and I get my check and whatever they make and whatever. Or the other way to do it, which is next to impossible unless you have a person in every show, is that you get that amount of money versus a percentage of the door.
Yeah.
So how do you do it?
Yeah, the way we do things is we work locally with, usually it's a comedian, one of the better comics in the local scene, and they're running boots on the ground, like actually setting up the shows. We provide all these resources and materials to get them, started. We buy all the equipment. So we own 200 speaker systems that are around the world and folding chairs and everything. We sell all the tickets through our website, and we pay the producers who are our local team for running the shows. We pay all the comedians that are performing on the lineup, sometimes a photographer. We actually run all the ads, the social media ads, to sell tickets for all the shows going on. So every show there's like 5 or 6 categories of expenses that go into it. And we have like this huge network of people that are running shows locally in these different markets.
So you're not taking the door of each show. The way I would presume the best business model to be, I'm not you. Clearly, I don't have this level of what you're doing. So the way I see it is, you tell me how this is flawed or if it worked. You find somebody, let's say in San Francisco, they're whatever, an open micer, but they're a great promoter. You've vetted them. They have a venue that they want to do. And what I presume it would be is like, okay, you're going to pay me X amount of dollars up front for the brand.
Yeah.
In exchange, I'm going to send you all this stuff and do whatever. And then out of the money at the door, that's how the comedians get paid. And they're going to make a percentage of the door, and it's going to be split between each comedian equally. And then there's my cut, which is the percentage, whatever I've decided I'm taking. And so that way you don't have to guarantee any money to the comedians. And in terms of the chairs and you owning the chairs and the sound systems, it's fascinating to me because normally, even if it's a pop-up show, there can be a pop-up show in a place where there's chairs.
Yeah.
So why? I don't even. I'm dying to hear this explanation of why you bought all these chairs, because to me, like, you can rent chairs and that could be part of the budget, and so you don't have to be carrying all these, and sound systems can be rented in places that from the promoter who's doing it. Where I don't understand why you would want to get involved in chairs and sound systems. Yeah. Could you explain that?
I think that, and that's kind of the point, is it really doesn't make sense. And that's what the person was asking in San Francisco. It's like, what is the plan here? And the plan was just to put on these really cool, like, pop-up experiences that are underground. It's like a house party. We're taking over an art gallery or a barber shop for the night, and we're bringing in chairs. And so it feels like a one-of-a-kind experience that we're doing every time. And no show is the same, which is, I think, what makes it really special and unique. And we don't work with any clubs. We'll never do a show at a comedy club or any place that has a 2-drink minimum. That's one of the things that I wanted to make sure. Like, comedy was pretty expensive when I was trying to go to shows just out of college, because it's, 2-drink minimum, you bring a date, it's over $100 for a night out. So boiling it down to, like, what makes Don't Tell Comedy what it is, it's making stand-up more accessible by bringing comedy to different neighborhoods that don't have options. It's making it more affordable because you don't have to buy a 2-drink minimum. A lot of our shows are bring your own drinks and show up, and you can walk down the street to this art gallery and see a show with 70 other people. And the other thing is the feeling at a show feels way more laid back and less transactional. When you're at the show, you don't usually need to buy anything. You can just be there and enjoy the show. There's no distractions. But yeah, the model is different. Like, I don't know if there's anything else that's comparable to what we're doing outside of local independent shows and the company I mentioned So Far Sounds. But working with us as a producer is unique because you don't need to worry about marketing. We don't need somebody who's a good promoter. The brand is promoting the experience and selling the tickets. we're running ads on top of that to sell the tickets. So the business model is we take all the tickets from every show, we pay everyone. If the show loses money, we lose money, and that's on us. We'll still pay all the comics.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't understand. Like, why wouldn't you just do you take what money comes in and the comedians know, okay, you're going to split this favored nations equally, then you don't have to have any.
But, then you're not able to get the level of comedians that we want to work with because they're used to getting paid X, and you're saying, yeah, maybe we'll pay you something.
But permission to speak freely.
Yeah.
The level of comedians on a Don't Tell comedy show is not the level of comedians at the main room at the Comedy Store.
Can be. Like, depending on the night.
But I mean,
we're not having David Spade and
let me rephrase. Out of 100% of all the Don't Tell comedy shows across the 800 that you did before the pandemic, what percent of the shows were at the level of talent that were at the Comedy Store or the Improv on a Saturday night?
Right. Really, that's only possible in New York or LA. Like other cities, it's going to be hard. But what I'm saying
so that's why I'm saying. So then why wouldn't you be? What level of comics are you worried about?
We're really focused on what I call the middle class of comedy, and that's the people that are really talented but aren't yet selling out clubs. But we can still sometimes pay somebody $1,500 to come in to Columbus, where we do 5 shows a weekend and headline 5 shows without needing to promote. And comedians love that because they don't need to burn a market because they're not tapping into their email list, or they're not even needing to promote because they're not listed on the lineup. And we'll bring in a feature from Chicago, and we're able to pay them, a decent amount to make it worth their while. But we couldn't say, hey, fly into Columbus, we'll maybe pay you if we make money. It just wouldn't work.
See, I don't visualize a Don't Tell comedy show like that. So this is good for the audience to know this. I visualize a Don't Tell comedy show like I don't visualize it like, hey, we're doing 5 shows in the barber shop this week with Katherine Blanchard. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as like, hey, we're doing a show in the barber shop. Come and there's going to be special guests. These people are going to be there, but there's going to be some different things happening. And it's relaxed, have fun, bring your own booze. I don't look at it as like, hey, we got Morgan J here, like in 2019 for the week, and with his opening act, this person. I never looked at it that way.
And we're hoping to do more of that because not every city is like Columbus, where we're bringing in a headliner for the full weekend. But it's funny you mentioned Morgan J and Katherine Blanchard because those are like 2 OG Don't Tell comedy people. I saw Katherine in the basement of a place in Atlanta. That's where I met her, and that's why I booked her on our thing. But there's so many great local comics in all these different scenes that don't have representation, that are really good. And what we provide is usually a sold out crowd that they can perform in front of. And then now we have the digital arm and the video side of things where we're able to elevate them through that platform and hopefully expose them to a bigger audience where then you or other managers and agents in the industry are like, holy shit, this person's really good. And maybe they sign them, or it gives them the ability to move. Like with Katherine doing the Don't Tell set was, I think she would say it was like instrumental in helping her move to LA and like then start headlining.
I just interviewed her. She did say that.
Oh, great. Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, had a great time. There's a method to my madness mentioning Morgan J and Katherine. I actually sometimes do the research. But I feel like I feel fascinated sitting across from you because obviously I'm coming from a place where I'm not doing a business that's doing 1,200 shows in a weekend, and nobody I know is. So I'm talking to somebody who's like a unicorn. Nobody is even remotely doing what you're doing. Even though I sit here, not inside your sausage factory, objectively, I still feel like I see ways where, maybe, you could actually take care of yourself a little bit more in this thing, as opposed to doing 800 shows in 2019 and having to do the books for Helen Hayes, who's a 97-year-old actress. Who, you know what I mean? Like, I clearly, if you're doing 800 shows a year, and I mean, even if you're making like,
It's hard, man. Like starting, as you know, like starting and running a business is really tough, and you often just pay other people before you pay yourself. And I mentioned or alluded to earlier that like adding some people to my team made this possible, and that's really what it was. Like, because I didn't have any experience like running a business, and I bootstrapped this with a few $1,000s to buy a speaker system and chairs and extension cords. Like we never raised any money from investors, so it was truly just like learning as we went. How much cash do we have in the bank? Oh, we can put on another show in San Francisco. Let's do that.
You say we. Who's we?
Yeah, my partner Brett, who has been like a consultant since like the end of the first year of doing this. He's been like a game changer in like helping to organize everything. Like he's really an operational wizard. So this guy, Brett Kushner, who works with me, he's our COO. Like I was just so lucky that he loved what we were doing, what I was doing, and wanted to get involved. And so for 3+ years, he just worked for like 10 to 20 hours a week on top of his full-time job. And then luckily we were able to bring him on full-time in like 2021. But that, I mean, bringing on him and others on our team, like the power of just more people that are fully dedicated to helping to build something. I think I underestimated how powerful that is. And you can't do everything yourself. You really have to learn how to delegate and empower other people to take on more responsibility. So that was like truly, that was the game changer for, you know, I'll take some credit, but like adding these people on my team, like to build this, oh my God, it's a world of difference.
So talk about, you're doing these shows, they're starting to increase in Los Angeles. When do you start thinking about putting the YouTube channel together?
It happened gradually. In 2019, we shot a special for my friend Danny Jollis, and that was something that we did because we believe in him and wanted to also like test out what it would be like to shoot something at like a high quality. And so in 2019, we shot that. Pandemic hit, so we didn't end up releasing it until much later, towards the end of the pandemic. But when things started to come back at the end of 2021, is when we shot our first thing. But it was the success of shooting that special for Danny back in 2019 that like stuck in my head, and feeling like, you know what, we can do this and do these short sets, kind of similar to what Comedy Central had done with their YouTube channel. But I felt like what was missing from their stuff and what's so special about our shows in general is you really feel like the crowd wants to be there. And we're shooting it in a way that feels more like you're in the audience, and we're doing the audio in a way where you actually hear the audience laughing. And paying attention to these details to make the experience feel as close to what the live shows are like.
It's weird. Like not to go toe to toe with you, but like, and I love the digital network. And I love the videos. I just want to say something. Andy Huggins, I've known for years. The guy's like almost 80 years old.
Legend. And
you gave him a shot. And just to let you know, I talked to him and his manager the other day. And after that aired, within a span of literally a month, he got $50,000 in gigs.
That's fucking awesome. That's awesome.
Because of you. I mean, pretty fucking incredible that you gave a shot to somebody who's like 78 years old.
Yeah.
You know, when you think that comedy's all about being youthful and young and this and that, but fucking funny is funny.
Yeah.
And the guy is like hilarious. And also the way you promoted him, you know, like sort of like the old way that Henny Youngman was promoted, the king of the one-liners or the king of the whatever it was.
Yeah.
But it feels like the videos are not what I perceive as the pop-up shows. It feels more like a comedy club, those shows. It feels more like a comedy venue, and I want to know if you disagree with me or if there's a method to your madness in terms of, okay, we're sort of like doing a little hybrid thing for the tapings because we don't want to go too extreme. We got to get people in that, like, what's the philosophy behind that? Because I always felt that the videos they never felt like a pop-up show to me. They felt like a comedy club in the middle of, it felt like you built a comedy club somewhere.
Yeah. Part of what you're saying is like, we really elevate everything for these tapings. Like we put a lot of it, we now hire a set designer that's like helping to make the space look beautiful. And at the first like 8 tapings, we would show up and see what they had. Like the Katherine Blanchard one was at this parking lot, and then they had a bunch of old bikes. And so we just like rigged the bikes up behind the stage, put some lights on, but it was truly in a parking lot. We just made it look more interesting. So I think what differentiates our shows from a comedy club, and the things I don't like about comedy clubs, are there's sometimes too high of a stage, which I don't love. I think it feels less intimate and less connected. At a lot of comedy clubs, you're facing people, you're like facing sideways, but the show is happening here. And so you're having to like watch it facing to your right or left. And at all of our shows, honestly, it's funny because we do try to make it feel like the Comedy Cellar, I guess, which is the best comedy club in the world. And so there's comedy clubs that do it right.
You know what's odd about the Comedy Cellar, and I'm not going to disagree with you, because every time I go to New York, I have this thing about myself, which is a weird thing. It's like everywhere I go in the world, I like to go to a different place every time. Like I don't want to go back to the same place. Except New York City. When I go to New York City, I want to go to the Comedy Cellar. I want to go on the show. I want them to pull out those 2 things from the bench for me.
Yeah. That
they pull out for me by the service bar. And I want to just enjoy it. But arguably, what's weird about this room, which I tell everybody, is that there's only one bathroom in the whole place. The olive tree upstairs, this huge restaurant, and the Comedy Cellar, only one bathroom. And the bathroom is like literally like if you were to go to a bathroom on the side of a highway in a town that you didn't know existed, where the guy gives you a key attached to a truck tire, that bathroom would be better than the bathroom at the Comedy Cellar. And people walk back and forth in front of the stage. There's only one row of chairs. And the person performing has to always perform with people constantly walking back and forth. Yet it's the best room.
It's so uncomfortable sitting in there. You're like, it really is, but for some reason it doesn't matter. That's just like the perfect room. But I think what you're talking about too, it reminds me of another thing that's so important to what we do with the Don't Tell shows, is we're like, how can we limit the distractions so there aren't people walking through the showroom to the bathroom down from the restaurant, or there aren't servers coming around like trying to take orders, or there's no check spot at our shows. I went to so many bad shows for so long and performed on so many bad shows that it was like, how can we just make this better for the comics and for the audience? And it wasn't rocket science, but it did require some creativity looking at alternative spaces to kind of work with.
Hey everybody, it's Barry Katz, and I wanted to talk to you about Blueprint for Success. This is a community that I put together during the pandemic to help all artists of every walk of life in the entertainment business. No matter where you are in that part of this journey, it's designed to help you. There are podcasts with people that will inspire you, like Kevin Hart, Judd Apatow, Bill Burr, that you can't find anywhere else but on this program that I've interviewed, to times where we get to talk to executives in the business that you would never have access to tell you what you need to hear and to answer your questions, to all sorts of different videos and master classes designed to help you get to the promised land. That's what the Blueprint for Success is. Doesn't matter whether you want to be a stand-up comedian, a sketch performer, a podcaster, an actor, an actress, director, writer, social media person, whatever you want to be. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've had the honor and been humbled to represent people like Chappelle, Wanda Sykes, Louis C.K., Dane Cook, and probably over 20 other people who went from a studio apartment to being a multi-millionaire and a household name. And I want that for you, and I wanted to take the time with this program to be able to help you on your way there, to get there and to heighten and increase the trajectory of your career. Blueprint for Success is the way to go. I'm proud to be a part of this program, and I'd be proud to have you to be a part of it too.
Why did you decide to quit comedy like you quit accounting?
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, I got into stand-up to do stand-up.
You have your platform.
Yeah, I know. It's like I couldn't have set it up more perfect for myself to be
you
like
can work all over the world.
touring everywhere.
Every deal you do at every place, there's a little clause.
Yeah.
You get to do a guest set.
Yeah. I think, it's like everyone hates the producer that closes the show with 30 minutes who is not as good as everyone else on the show.
What about if you do 10 minutes in the middle?
Yeah. No, I could have done that. I could have done that very easily, but I felt like I got to the point where I was spending so much time trying to build the business into something bigger, and I wasn't dedicating as much time to writing and even getting up, that I felt like it was a waste of my time and a waste of the audience's time and a waste of a spot on a show for a comic that's actually really working at it. So I felt like I was better suited, and I love the business side of things and building this into something that can really have a massive impact on the comedy world. So it didn't feel like a loss. I felt like I found something else that I loved equally, if not more, and then doubled down on that and just spent all my time working on that. I felt like it was too much to do both things.
So many times you talk to people in your life, they might be in your business, they might not be, and there's always an excuse. Oh, well, I was going strong and then the car broke down and I couldn't, or it's like, yeah, I was doing great in the job, but then Sally had a hair across her ass. She got jealous of me and then I got fired, or what. Everybody has the ability to rally around the story of why they're where they are and why they can't get to where they want to go.
Yeah.
But you are at the height of your game. 800 shows before the pandemic. 800 shows in 1 year, and then the pandemic hits. And instead of going under and like, everything's over and what am I going to do? We're done. You come out of the pandemic and you're like as strong as ever and you rise like a rocket ship. How did you keep the mental, thing together and say, hey, we're going to get through this. We're going to do this. And then when we get on the other side, we're going to be better than ever.
It was tough. Like, I moved back in with my family, like in the Bay Area. The whole business shut down, like tried to pivot to doing virtual stuff. We ended up focusing on, we didn't love the Zoom comedy thing. So we ended up focusing on doing corporate events for companies and created like some different online formats. This trivia show just to keep the lights on. So it felt like it was just like, can we keep this thing afloat? But I was so ready to give up. Like, I applied to business school. I didn't get in. At first, it felt like this could be 2 years until we're doing shows again. And then when it started to be like, you can do shows again, but people have to be socially distant, there was a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, which was super helpful. And we were positioned well because we had experience producing shows in untraditional places, outdoor locations and whatnot. But yeah, it was sucked. Like, the whole pandemic was brutal, and it was just about keeping things afloat. One thing that was like super helpful is we got a grant from the government that was supporting venues and promoters. And that gave us a little bit of money to like put towards getting shows going again, filming, the first round of filmings. We thought we'd do 1, maybe 2, and then we'd stop because we'd run out of money. But what we hoped, which came true, was that the video side would help market the live shows. And so we didn't think it was going to explode in the way it did. We got really lucky with the timing of social media prioritizing short form content. Like, we got so lucky with the timing. We did everything right. We made sure it was very high quality and everything. So we give ourselves credit there, but the timing was impeccable. And it really did. It helped us really grow massively.
So the YouTube channel is up with your friend's stand-up special, maybe some clips here that you're putting on, whatever. You film your first show. Where do you film it?
We filmed it at in a parking lot next to a surf shop in Redondo Beach. One was one of them, and the other one was in a parking lot in Santa Barbara.
And they were shot how far apart?
back-to-back nights.
Oh, back
Friday, Saturday.
Right. And was there anybody on those shows those two shows that people are going to see headline all across the country now in different places all across the world? Who was on those shows that's doing well now?
Michael Longfellow,
of course,
before he got SNL,
yeah.
and that was a big one. Robbie Hoffman, who's been on fire and just killing it. Someone who I met at Cabaret, who I still think is so underappreciated, is Kira Salanovic.
Of course,
so funny. She was on that. Mark Smalls was a guy that I had met in San Francisco doing house shows back before Don't Tell, and he had one of the best sets that night.
You're putting these shows together, and it's you and your partner are deciding who's getting the slots.
Yeah, it's like
just the two of you.
It's really me with support from some producers and some people locally in LA that we work with consistently.
This is something that's always fascinating. I love exploring this.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind me going here. So let's say something wonderful happens to you. Let's say we're going to do a hypothetical right now, okay? But you got to answer just right away, okay? You get out of here. You played the lottery. You find out you won the lottery. You won $100 million.
Yeah.
You just find out right there in the moment. Who's the first person you call?
First back, my dad.
Second person you call?
My mom.
Third person?
My brother.
Fourth person?
Probably Brett, my partner.
Fifth person?
Brad.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're putting the show together. You don't think about it, but when you put the show together, you sit down, and who's the first guy you booked, or woman?
That first time?
Yes.
Mark Smalls.
First person. Yeah. Second person.
I think it was probably Felicia Folks or Ryan O'Flanagan.
Fourth person.
Oh man, this is a while ago. I think I hit up Kira.
Right.
I didn't think she would do it.
And the fifth person.
Michael Longfellow was one of the first people I hit up.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. So every time you do a show, so like the one you did with Andy Huggins that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
You got to put that show together. 6 people on a show. How do you decide on Andy? You've got, all these people across the country who are dying for their shot. Andy's been doing it for 45 years. How does he get into your crosshairs, and how do you convince yourself and everybody, listen, let's do something a little bit different here. Let's put somebody on who's like older.
I got a DM from a comic in Houston, cold DM, and he hit me up and he's like, hey, just want to put this on your radar. This guy, Andy Huggins, is amazing. The whole Houston comedy scene, like, crowdfunded his special. He's really incredible, and I think you should take a look at him. And I saw one clip and I was like, we got to book this guy.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So that's the beauty of having all these producers that are running shows in different cities, and even comics, because I trust comics and our producers, no offense, more than managers, because they have a vested interest in getting their clients booked. But like hearing from a couple producers, this person killed at both these shows, I think you should take a look. It means a lot.
Now, the natural progression is to take what you did originally and look at what you did right and what you did wrong on that first comedy special. Then go to relationships you have, like Katherine, Blanchard, or Hannah Berner, or anybody like that, and say, hey, you know what? All these other producers in town that are trying to get you to do a special. Hey, it's me. You know me. I was there in the beginning. I'm good at this. Yeah. Here, watch this thing that I did. Will you give me a shot to produce your special? And then you go into the next line of business where you're actually, the brand is ahead of the special that is on Netflix or on here, or even on somebody's YouTube channel. It's unbelievable to me what happens these days and how it happens. I look at somebody like Brad Williams, he had like 3 or 4 hour specials, and he self-produces his own thing, spends like $80,000 of his own money, puts the YouTube channel up, puts it on, and his social media goes from like 350 to 800,000.
Wow.
Over like 50 million views on social media clips from the clipping of the special. 2.3 I think 7 million views since April 20th. It's like insane what can happen. But if your company starts, let's say, producing Brad Williams's specials, then it's on his YouTube channel, but it just says Don't Tell Comedy Presents, and then it's more. So you're starting to do that more now. Your first one was, I know what your first one was, but the first one in this regime, is it Hannah?
First one for a streamer is Hannah Burner, yeah.
Got it. So how did that come about where you got that account when so many other people who shall remain nameless are trying to get her to do it, offering her, hey, listen, you know, Hannah, well, there's a little money on the side here. Don't go with them here. We'll give you this. We'll give you a bigger percentage here.
Yeah.
Hey, you know that line item, Hannah, that's there for editing, and it says it's like, you know, $5,000. It doesn't cost $5,000, so it's going to cost like that. We'll give you a little piece of that, whatever, if you don't go with that guy or whatever. But she went with you guys.
That was funny because I didn't know her at all, actually.
See, I thought you knew her through Don't Tell Comedy.
Well, here's what happened is we shot a special for Ashley Gavin in Chicago, and she recommended us as a production company because she had worked with other people in the past, and her experience with us was so positive that she referred us to Hannah, and we did an interview, and I think she just liked our vibe. But that's been the whole philosophy, even from the beginning with the live shows, is you do something good and people will come back. And the word of mouth is the most powerful marketing tool you can have.
You mean great work actually brings upon great work?
It's crazy, right?
You know, what's weird about that is that you said in the beginning that, hey, Barry, this is what I do. I'd be the shittiest comic on the show. And make sure everything's great. So your foundation was being the shittiest comic.
Yep. And then at a certain point, I was like, you know, just everyone needs to be great. And even our producers that we work with have most of them have been doing stand-up for at least 3 or 4 years and have a solid, you know, host set.
So when you produce a special, is your business model a little tighter on the comedy specials? I've done like 40 of them. So this is something I know something about more than
when we got into it, I hoped that we would be the more affordable option because it's so expensive to produce comedy specials, and that's not how it's panned out. Unfortunately, I still think that you can't compete with finding friends and friends of friends to help you shoot a special, and there's always going to be a cheaper option. But what we've prioritized is we want to be the most premium option for comedy specials. Define
premium.
Yeah, I think it's...
Because when I think of the most premium option, I think of the Ritz-Carlton as a premium hotel, and I think of Motel 6 as not a premium hotel, but you're not trying to be the Ritz-Carlton.
No, I guess you're right. Like that would be the the Segura specials that are $1 million or whatever.
See, I look at you kind of wanting to be like the Pete Davidson special, the one with the black background and whatever, or like the Louis C.K. specials from the past, where it doesn't have to be frills, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny over frills.
Yeah.
The toughest part is that when you're dealing with, I think, and maybe I'll be shot for this, most male comedians care less about the design of the set and how it is and how it's going to be. And I think the specials that I've done with women, it matters more of how it's presented and the brand is presented, not just in the comedy, but how the place looks.
We definitely have examples that would be different from that, but I think generally that might be right. But I think we work with a lot of people who it's their first ever special that they're putting out, and so they do really care about everything. But yeah, I think we just really care about it looking amazing. Sounding amazing is so key because we've seen so many people mess that up over the years, and I think that can make or break a special.
So you sell the special, you sell Hannah Burner on doing the special. Now you got to put a budget together for the special, because normally the artist wants to do the special where they want to do the special. Like when I did Whitney Cummings for a special, and this shows you what kind of, I think, amazing artist she is. And many people might say, well, that's kind of crazy, you think, but to me, like, it said it all. She said, we got $150,000 from Comedy Central. That's what we had to produce the special. I said, where do you want to shoot the special? She said, I want to shoot it at the New Shakespearean Theater in Washington, D.C. The rent for the Shakespearean Theater was $42,500.
Damn.
I couldn't get them down. I did get them down. It was 45,000. Maybe I got them down. It was like ridiculous. So right away, like 30% of the special is just the venue, one line item.
Yeah.
Then she wanted John Fortenberry to direct it, who was a very prestigious, esteemed single camera director. He'd done Rescue Me, tons of episodes, I believe. And the least he would do it for was $25,000. So now we got two line items that are half of the special. So I think Whitney might have made, and when you're a production company, normally your production fee is 10%. So that's $15,000.
Yeah.
So now there's like literally like $50,000 or $60,000 left over for everything else.
Yeah.
And her. So I believe she only made like $7,500, and she didn't care because she wanted it to be a certain way and look a certain way, and she was very shrewd, which I always say, respect outlasts cash.
Right.
So with Hannah, she's going to want to do it in a certain venue, or you might bring her certain venues and she might choose one. And then you go to the venue and, you know, you have no choice. It's like you're negotiating with a venue. It's like negotiating with some kind of illegal operation or whatever. These people are, it's like crazy. Then there's the unions and how much time you have. Yep. And then you've got, like you said, the two most important things, because they're going to bring in their audience. The audience that comes in a lot of times these days isn't a free audience to do a special. It's a paid audience. So she's going to get the money at the door for whatever that is versus whatever the promoter is. But the two most important things are the director and the sound. And to get a great director and a great sound guy, like a great sound guy, like let's say like Tom Cassetta, who did Chappelle's Sticks and Stones, you talk about a premium, you got to pay the premium.
Yeah.
To know that nothing's going to fuck up. So when you're producing, how involved are you, or does the act say, I want this person to direct, I'll negotiate what they make, I want this person as my sound person, or do you bring all the people to the table?
It depends. Like for Hannah's, she had someone in mind for some of the positions, but our head of production, we booked a lot of local people for stuff, and we have directors that we work with for all of our stuff that we always offer up as an option, who really work for a nice discounted rate. So we try to put as much on screen as we can. But the Hannah one was weird because those are part of those like Netflix licensing deals where they just give you a couple $100,000, and then you got to pay, as a comic, you got to pay for the whole special yourself.
And you also have to follow the 67-page directions on how you deliver the special. Yes. And then they send it back to you and say, hey, listen, didn't pass the inspection, you got to fix this.
Yeah. We didn't have too many of those, thank God. But luckily her agent, I think, handled booking the venue, so we didn't need to deal with that at all. We did have to deal with some union stuff in Philly, but it was really cool. But the Netflix deals have changed things, because like most comics, they think of their special as a billboard for advertising their touring business. And so I think from what I've seen, comedians don't mind if they put more money into the specials, because they're thinking, I'll make a return on selling out bigger venues.
Andrew Schultz went with Comedy Dynamics. I believe they paid him $50,000. Or approximately. And he realized that he made a decision that wasn't in his best interest, and he bought it back. I don't know how much he bought it back for, but he bought it back for more than they paid for it, and the rest is history. These are the things that are so exciting. The one thing I want to ask you before I get into the last few questions is, normally branding of a company is the most important thing of what you're branding and how it is. And your branding is this organic thing where a show could happen anywhere, and you don't have the constraints of a normal comedy club or theater or anything like that. And we're just going to come in and we're going to have a great time, and wherever it is, and we're going to make magic happen in this place. And we're going to entertain you, we're going to inspire you, and we're going to make your life a little bit better that night. So that's the brand in my estimation. Probably not the mission statement in yours, but that's the brand for me. But now what happens, you start getting into comedy specials and you start dealing with bigger artists who have their own brand, who have their own vision of how they want to be presented. And I would probably like to presume that 99.9% of the artists in the country who want to do their own comedy special don't want to present it from a parking lot in Peoria, Illinois. And so now you're working on these specials, and they're diametrically opposite of your philosophy, your brand, everything that you believe in and everything you started in, everything you wanted for yourself and other comedians in your company. Now you're producing stuff in the fucking cookie cutter machine of what Netflix wants it to be, or what Comedy Central wants it to be, or insert network here, Hulu, Amazon.
Yeah.
And you're, instead of being the person, you're working for the person. So how do you feel you're going to keep your brand strong when you're going against your brand by doing these specials? Instead of doing specials, I would understand you doing specials if only artists agreed to do the specials in the settings, the original settings that you did. It doesn't have to be a parking lot. It could be a high school football field. It could be a minor league baseball stadium. It could be a juice bar, whatever. But you're not doing that. Don't be mad at me. You're conforming to the game. And Kyle, your brand is synonymous with, we don't play the fucking game. So why are you doing that?
It's a great question. Well, first off, anything that we're releasing through our channel is shot at a Don't Tell show and is not shot in a traditional venue. And we're very particular. We only put out stuff that we produce for our stuff. And that's important because it's in line, like you said, with the brand pop-up style in these unique locations. The other thing I would say is, like, we're really in the business, like our mission statement is we want to be the most trusted brand in stand-up by both comedians and audiences. And we're in the business of solving problems within the comedy space. And I think there's a lot of problems with how comedy specials have been shot in the past. And so when we're shooting at more traditional venues, we're still looking at it through the lens of, how can we make this better than what's been done before? How can we make it not feel cookie cutter? How can we make it feel special? How can we capture the energy of the room and the live performance in a way that's more in line with how we shoot our stuff, while making it feel grand and elevated for people that are shooting in bigger theaters like Hannah, or Preacher Lawson, or Joe Dombrowski that we shot in a theater. So I still think our ethos is like, let's make things that are better than what's been done before, and improve on everything that we're doing. If there was something where we feel like we're just like, we weren't gonna be able to do that, I don't know if we would spend our time doing it. Specials are not a big part of our business, but we just get hit up to do them. We're not reaching out trying to get new jobs. We're happy to do it. And we like to add our sort of taste to the specials that we shoot. But at the end of the day, also, we're working with a comic who is the decision maker and has the creative direction for what they want it to look and feel like. So we'll just give our creative input to try and make it as good as possible while fulfilling the vision of that comedian. But yeah, we're just in the business of solving problems within comedy, is how I like to put it.
Your proudest moment in show business?
Man, maybe when you just said Andy Huggins made $50,000 on gigs. We just booked him for a half hour. We're going to start doing half-hour specials. He's fantastic. Most proud moment? I mean, it's honestly the stories of from comedians about how we've impacted their careers, and like how it's changed people's like lives, in their words, not mine. Whether it's even producers being able to work like for Don't Tell, running shows and building their careers in that way. And and then the comedians who we've really elevated, who credit us with kind of starting the domino effect, like the Ralph Barbosas of the world, or Michael Longfellow, and many others now. Susan Rice, who's older comic in Portland, who's a killer, and she's also going to do a half hour with us later this year.
The half hours have a home?
Don't Tell Comedy, YouTube channel. Yeah, we're self-producing them. We found a sponsor to hop on board to
What's
help.
that business model look like for the comics?
For the comics, yeah, it's $15,000 to do a half hour.
Buyout?
Buyout, and then
So they no percentage of anything. They just got a buyout.
yeah, just like a standard fee. I bet we'll change things as time goes along. We're still learning. Like we're still learning the distribution world, how to get it on other platforms, what opportunities there are. Monetization on YouTube is not great for this type of content, and we put a lot of money into shooting these. So,
I presume you're going to shoot a lot of them in one night.
well, what we're going to do is we're going to give every comic 2 shots at it, because that's again, we're solving problems. I hate when comics just get 1 shot to shoot something that's that important. And we're going to do just 2 half hours per show, so instead of stacking 4, which again is a way that people save money to produce something that's lower quality, in my opinion. So we're going to have 2 comics doing a half hour on each show.
And that's an incredible investment, because you're doubling your expenses. Because I always feel like, and when I've shot, believe me, I've shot everything from, specials and 200 seaters to, Dane Cook at Boston Garden.
Yeah.
And so I've done every kind you can imagine. I've done 2 in one night. I've done 2 in a weekend. I've done even more than 2. The reason why the one show is, I find, able to be done cost effectively and able to work, it's only if, I meet with the comedian beforehand and I say, look, you f up something, you stop, you just say, hey, everybody, I just f that up. Let's pretend I whatever, and he comes back with it, and the crowd is even more receptive.
Yeah.
You forget something at the show, hold on to everybody. Hey, Andy, you forgot this piece here on hair weaves. All right, everybody, we're going to reset. We're going to have them do the thing on the hair weaves.
Yeah, we do that for our 10-minute sets, because it's so important. It's a good tool to use, because everyone just gets 1 shot at the 10 minutes. So we have pickups at the end where comics will go back up.
Yeah, I'm actually confused as to why you want to spend double the money on production, knowing that you've been wildly successful with pickups on your Don't Tell comedy shows, and it's worked flawlessly.
Here's the difference. With the 10-minute sets, we give every comic the ability to review their set, and if they don't like it, we'll throw it out. We won't post it. And on the 30-minute sets, we're not going to do that. So we want to make sure that people get the best possible tape. And that's, again, like for the 10-minute sets, that's a policy we've had since the beginning. And I think it just helps build trust within the community amongst comics that, hey, like, we understand sometimes the crowd's weird for whatever reason. It's not a great show. We don't want you to have to pay for that with like a set that you don't like out there. Because every comic, has a thing out there that they're like, God, I wish I didn't do that. And so we never want that to be the case with what we're doing.
Your biggest disappointment in comedy and how you used it to fuel yourself to the next level?
This is probably not the biggest disappointment, but I remember doing when I was doing stand-up, I was performing at this bar off the highway somewhere in like West Covina, and there were like 4 people there, and there's a guy, it was at a bar, there's a guy at the bar facing away from me watching the Dodgers game, and I finished just eating shit for like 10 minutes, and the guy turns around and he's like, hey, comedy's not for everyone. I was like, God damn. And the weird thing was that was one of the first times I actually got paid to do a show. I got $20. I was like, it's great. No, that was terrible. But you remember the hell gigs. I did a gig one time where there was nobody even in the audience. The host was like, we got to start the show because then people will walk in and join the show. But if we don't have a show going on, then nobody's going to come in. And he went up and hosted to nobody. And I was going up first and went up after him. And that was a booked show. That's starting comedy in LA. Not a good idea. But it worked out for me because I felt like, all right, I'm tired of doing these bad shows. I'm going to produce my own shows, get stage time that way, and just try to put on stuff that's better than what else is out there. I don't know if that answered your question, but those are two moments that will stick with me for the rest of my life.
Awesome. Last question. What advice do you have for the young person in business or comedy, starting off doing the books for a 97-year-old Hollywood starlet in the Hollywood Hills,
Yeah.
and getting to the point where they're having 1,200 shows in a weekend and doing hour specials, half-hour specials, YouTube channels, and breaking comedians, and really having the kind of career that you're having?
For comics, the only advice that I feel comfortable giving is don't film anything for like 2 or 3 years and just focus on the craft and getting up as much as possible. I think there's too much pressure on comics now to post on social media, and I think the people that will have the sustainable careers are the people that will focus on just getting better as a comic and dedicating time to the craft. And then in business, I don't know. It's like this whole thing has been a roller coaster. Like I literally almost gave up and went to business school during the pandemic, and stuff just unfolds as you least expect it to. And so just being able to like take any mistakes or challenges in stride and just learn from them and find great people to work with. It's like the number one thing. Make sure you trust the people you work with.
Awesome. Kyle, this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks
I
for
really
having me on.
appreciate it. I hope it was okay. I hope I didn't go too much at you.
No, I like it. Yeah, it was great.
All right. Well, congratulations on all your success. You deserve it.
Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, Bill.